Shalom, family.
Shalom.
And welcome to another new moon, new month. And all praises be to Yahweh that He's brought us safely through the last of our holy days, the last of the feast days. So, hallelujah to that. But even with making it through the last of the feast days for this year, we still have our normal Shabbats that are commanded and new moon, which is still a commanded gathering. So although we've made it through the last of the feast days, we still have commanded gatherings throughout the rest of this year, which one of them is the new moon. And on this evening, new moon's class is titled Self-Will/Selfishness, Restraint, and the Outcome. We're going to jump right into the class. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 49. We're going to read verses 5 through 7. Genesis chapter 49, verses 5 through 7.
Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. O my soul, come not you into their secret, unto their assembly. Mine honor, be not you united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel.
So it says, Simeon and Levi are brethren, instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. And he says, come not you into their secret. So let's go and figure out what this secret is. But then even with that, it says, and in their self-will, they dig down a wall. My brother, can you read the definition for self-will, please?
Self-will, from H7522. Rotson, from H7521. Delight, especially as shown. Be acceptable, acceptance, accepted. Delight, desire, favor, good, pleasure. Own, self, voluntarily, will, as what would.
So we say it's a delight. A delight in what they did. Their own self-will. Their own self-voluntary. Pleasure. Come not into their secret. So did they take pleasure in what they did? Was it desirable for them? Was it a delight for what they did? Let's go and see if we can figure that out. But you also give me the definition. He said they dig down a wall. That's their father speaking about them. He said they digged down a wall. Can you give me the definition for that?
Dig down, from H6131. Akar, a primitive root, to pluck up, especially by the roots, specifically to hamstring, figuratively, to exterminate, dig down, half, pluck up, root up.
To exterminate, to root up, to pluck up. That was his definition of what they did. They digged down a wall. So let's see what he's talking about. Let's go to Genesis chapter 34. This is him talking about his sons after the deed was done. That's what we just read. So let's go and read about the deed that he's talking about, come not into their secret, and how they dig down a wall with the actions that they did. Their own self-will. Genesis chapter 34, and we're going to read verses 24 through 31.
And unto Hamor and unto Shechem, his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males.
So let's set the scene. If you're not familiar with the story, Dinah went out to see how the other women lived. While she was out and about, she was raped by Shechem. Okay? So during this process, the brothers were out in the field. Father held his peace. But now they have made a covenant with these people of how they're going to deal with this situation to become one people. Or so they believe. Go ahead.
And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out.
So at this point, she's in this man's house. Nowhere does it ever go into detail whether she agreed to move in or any of that. But here they are following through with this act and removing their sister out of the house, all because of how they felt. It also said that they dealt deceitfully with these people. Go ahead.
The sons of Yaakov came upon the slain and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep and their oxen and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. And Yaakov said to Simeon and Levi, you have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me, and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot?
So these two brothers decided that they were going to exterminate these people. That's what he said. They dig down a wall. There was an agreement made. They broke that agreement. They exterminated these people. Came up on their stuff. The thing about it is, at this point, you're looking at 10 sons. 10 sons that all agreed that we'll do this with these people. But at some point, 2 out of the 10 decided they were going to do something else. That's their secret. Now, obviously, they didn't talk to the rest of the people because the other brothers weren't involved. So is that something that they knew between the two of them? Or did they present it, or one presented to the others and he found one person that said, you know what, let's go ahead and do this. But he said they dig down a wall. But then in the end, he said, I shall be destroyed, I and my house. Their response was, should he deal with our sister like this? Because of their self-will, their desire, they took no thought process on the rest of the family. They did not think about how the outcome could completely go differently. But then we also hear about that revenger of blood. Even in the answer that they gave to their father, you can tell at that point they still were not calm in spirit. They still were what it is. But we got to think about when we decide to make self-will moves, how does it affect the rest of the people? How does it affect the rest of Israel? That's what we have to start looking at. One man's move, how does it affect the whole nation of Israel? This one move could have wiped out the whole nation of Israel. So when we get off into our own thoughts and our own desires, we have to think about, what about the rest of my brothers and sisters? What about the rest of the house? In this whole situation, don't confuse willpower as being the same as self-will. Willpower is a sudden and focused burst of energy. Because sometimes we'll mix up self-will as being willpower. My willpower allowed me to do this. No, willpower is what will get something off of you because you want to live. Self-will is when you make a decision saying, this is what I'm going to do and nobody ain't going to stop me. And we saw that in their response. We call that selfishness. Scripture refers to that as selfishness. Nowadays, we'll put self-will as, it's my determination. No, let's look at it for what it is. Selfishness, where you're not considering anyone else but self. Let's go to Genesis chapter 34 and 13.
And the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. And they said unto them, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised.
That's all, my brother. You know, in this whole situation, the brothers answered deceitfully, right? He said all the sons answered deceitfully and said because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. So was there another plan? Because if they answered deceitfully, was there another plan with the brothers that Simeon and Levi decided they weren't going to go with? Did Simeon and Levi run out and execute their plan before the other plan could be executed? Because their father said it was a secret. So if it was their secret, obviously the rest of them didn't know about it. But we can see here that there was another thought process because they all answered deceitfully. So what was the other plan? It would have been interesting to know, but we'll never find that out now, will we? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 22. See, there's a lot of words that we use that are so close together that we kind of just make them blur lines. You got a thing called ambition. See, ambition is what drives you to say, okay, I want better for myself and my people. Ambition is what says, I'm going to go out and work to support my family, to support myself. Ambition is what says, I can do better than this. Ambition is a drive that says wake up every morning and go to work. Self-will can then turn around and say, I ain't going to work. I don't care. And watch the whole house crumble. But see, sometimes we blur all those lines of self-will, willpower, ambition, selfishness, all them things, and make it seem like it's all meshed together and it's all cohesive and cool when it's not. Deuteronomy chapter 22 and start at verse 22 for me, please.
If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die. Both man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shall you put away evil from Israel.
So this was not the case with Dinah. She was not married to an husband. Go ahead.
If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city, and lie with her, then you shall bring them both out unto the gate of the city, and you shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he had humbled his neighbor's wife. So you shall put away evil from among you.
This was not the case with Dinah. Go ahead.
But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her, and lie with her, then the man only that lie with her shall die. But
this was not the case. But this man still died. Go ahead.
But unto the damsel you shall do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises against his neighbor and slays him, even so is this matter. For you found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lie with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days.
So verse 28 says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her, he may not put her away all his days. Now it's interesting in this situation. It doesn't say if he find her in the field, and it don't say if he find her in the city. Now, did not Shechem say, tell me whatever dowry and I'll pay it?
Mm-hmm.
Never so much dowry, I'll pay it?
Mm-hmm.
He humbled her. She was in his house. This is a commandment. This is a statute of Yahweh's law. So did they not dig down this wall as well? In their own self-will. They completely destroyed Yahweh's words. Self-will. Their own thought process, their own secret. And had no cares about it. Something that could have completely, totally wiped out the whole nation of Israel before even becoming a nation. Just because of how they felt about a situation. You can be upset about things, but when you being upset, it's good to go back in this law book to see, do you have a cause? Is your cause justified? What they did is not justified according to these words here. Let's go to Jonah chapter 1. A lot of times we have thought processes and how we feel, think, feel, and believe about a situation. But the greatest thing is that we have the book. We have the reference guide. Not only do we have a reference guide, we also have a teacher. We have an elder priest, someone that we can go and sit down and talk to when we have certain thoughts and processes in our minds, and whether we know how to find it in the book. Because sometimes that's the biggest thing. We don't know where to find it in the book. So we won't take the time out to even start or get with somebody who can guide you to where things are in the book. Jonah chapter 1, and begin at verse 1 for me, please.
Now the word of Yahweh came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me.
Do we understand when Yahweh says, arise, go to Nineveh, that that's a commandment to that individual? It's not a suggestion. That's a commandment. Go ahead.
But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it, to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh. But Yahweh sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken.
So Yahweh gave Jonah a commandment. Jonah decides he's going to do what he wants to do. Self-will. Once again, he's going to decide what he wants to do, not what Yahweh commanded him. But let's see what happens. Go ahead.
Then the mariners were afraid, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. So the shipmaster came to him, and said unto him, What meanest you, O sleeper? Arise, call upon your Elohim, if so be that Elohim would think upon us, that we perish not. And they said every one of his fellow, Come, and let us cast lots, that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon Jonah. Then said they unto him, Tell us, we pray you, for whose cause this evil is upon us. What is your occupation, and whence comes you? What is your country, and of what people are you? And he said unto them, I am in Hebrew, and I fear Elohim, and I fear Yahweh, the Elohim of heaven, which had made the sea and the dry land.
He says he feared Yahweh Elohim, but he ran off to do what he wanted to do. Now, in his own self-will, he put other people in jeopardy, not considering his job, who he is. Now he's telling you I'm a Hebrew. But we as Hebrews have jobs that must be carried out. Self-will aside, we have jobs that must be carried out and will be carried out one way or another. But here's another situation, just like with Simeon and Levi, you put other people in jeopardy because of your own thought process. But yet you turn around and say you fear Yahweh. If we fear Yahweh, we will do what Yahweh said. We will do what Yahweh expects of us. That's the true fear of Yahweh. After Yahweh has shown you this, then you say you fear Yahweh? And we can read that he goes on and do other things. So where is Yahweh's true fear? That is what we have to start looking within ourselves and wondering what problems are we causing other people when we don't walk the way we're supposed to walk, when we don't talk the way we're supposed to talk. What problems are we causing others? Because we are in the midst of others. Just like we can be a blessing in the midst of others, we can also bring the curse that is upon us for being disobedient around others. We have to be careful how we deal. Isaiah chapter 8 and 13 says, Sanctify Yahweh of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. But do we understand what sanctifying is? Anything sanctified is set apart. But then Yahweh himself says we have made him to serve in our sins. If we're making him to serve in our sins, then he's not sanctified, he's not separated, he's not set aside. How do we make him serve in our sins? Because of the name that we carry. And when we go on to do our own self-will, not considering at that moment who's looking, who's watching. But even when we think that no one's watching, remember, there's the angel with the writer's inkhorn. Good.
Going back to the situation with Dinah, self-will brought forth a whole circle. It was her self-will to decide that she wanted to go out and see how the others live. She was intrigued. That self-will brought about the self-will of the individual who saw her and then forced her, which then brought forth the self-will of her brothers who decided that they were going to deceitfully deal with the people who had dealt with her. So the entire circle, it was a circle of self-will. And it ended just like it began, with self-will. And you have to ask, when you look at the situation, the brothers went about their way. And the way that you broke that down and going through each one of those parts, you have to then ask yourself, are we relinquishing some of our authority when we allow that woman child to go amongst the heathen? Because when you go and break all of that down, It said, okay, if you find him, then okay. He grabbed her. He said, I want her.
Right.
Then he have to pay this dowry. Well, wait a minute. What if you didn't want to give your daughter
To him.
unto this man? Well, here's the problem. How'd she get out there? So then, did he then feel like he realized in his mind, the father, that he didn't do his duty to keep her from being over there? So he understood that part, but his sons obviously didn't, because he didn't go and try to war against all of them,
Right.
understanding that she was in a place that she should not have been. So then we have to ask ourselves, when we allow, kids to just go and fulfill their heart's desire, how much of that is Yahweh going to come and get us for? How much of that is he going to ask us? Well, let me ask you a question. Why were they over here? How they get over here? I know they ain't have no money. Who bought their ticket? We have to ask ourselves, because that was pretty deep, brother.
And we've often talked about the fact of how this country says, 18, they're adults.
Yep.
But we know in scripture, in Yahweh's culture, you 20 before you're responsible for your own sins.
Mm-hmm.
So we've often had the conversation about, okay, so from 18 to 20, who's responsible for what they're doing? Who's Yahweh counting that on? You let them leave your house at 18, and they out there running amok. Who's that attributed to?
Not only that, brother, they may do something at 18, and Yahweh still may not deal with you until 42.
Hey, let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 13.
Me and Kish was talking about that Diana situation, and I asked, the brothers made a deal with them. They made a deal. I mean, they said, yeah, we'll do this. Y'all stuff will be y'all stuff will be ours, our stuff will be yours. Then they reneged on it. So they knew that what happened wasn't wrong. They just was in their feelings about they're not part of our culture. We have a culture. Even though our sister went outside of it, hey man, that's outside of our culture.
But then you bring up an interesting point. Did they use the culture to get their own way?
Mm-hmm. They did.
Now does that make it right? Because now that topic's on the table, in this walk, we've had many a brother who used this culture to get their own way. And once they get it, the culture is the last thing they think about. But they use the culture to get what they wanted, the lust of their own flesh, by using the culture. But then don't maintain the culture after they've gotten what they want. You're still going to be held accountable for that. That is interesting.
So?
I think we've opened up a whole can of worms this evening here. 2 Samuel chapter 13, and start at verse 8 there.
No,
Priest Mikael.
1 Samuel 13 and 8. We skip 1 Samuel 13.
Yeah, 1 Samuel 13.
We had 1 Samuel 13
Yeah.
and 8. And he tarried 7 days, according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel had came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offerings. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of the offerings, the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what hast you done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you came not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore I said, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplications unto Yahweh. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, you have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of Yahweh your Elohim, which he commanded you. For now would Yahweh have established your kingdom upon Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. Yahweh had sought him a man after his own heart, and Yahweh had commanded him to be captain over his people, because you have not kept that which Yahweh hath commanded you.
So, verse 12, therefore I said, self, I need to go ahead and take care of this business, because the people have separated themselves. So, self, I'm going to go ahead and do this burnt offering. Now you have to look at the situation with this. What did Saul know about doing burnt offerings? This is the first setup of a kingship. But now you've blurred the lines because of talking to self with the priesthood. Because you saw the people were separated from you. But your self-will action has now completely separated you in the long term from the people and generations of yours to come. Because at this point, what does it say? But now your kingdom shall not continue. Self-will has now removed his whole legacy from being in power and being in charge. Could this have gone another way? Yes, Yahweh could have made this go another way. But his own self-will, his own desire to make things happen, just jeopardized his whole family, his whole legacy in the nation of Israel. So this one man's action caused a ripple effect in the whole nation of Israel. As we can see, all it takes is one man's action to not consider the whole nation, but to just think about self. By one man's action, sin came into the world. And by the action of one man, can we be saved from sin. One man brought death into the world. One man's death brought salvation to the world. Go ahead. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 13. Second Samuel chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 13 through 27.
And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on the one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, let them arise. Then they arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one of his fellow by the head and thrust his sword in their fellow's side. So they fell down together, wherefore that place was called Helkath Hazerim, which is in Gibeon. And there was a sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Ahaziel, Ahaziel was a light of foot as a wild roe. And Ahaziel pursued after Abner, and in going he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. And Abner looked behind him and said, Are you Ahaziel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, Turn you aside to your right hand or to your left, and lay you hold on one of the young men, and take you his armor. But Ahaziel would not turn aside from following of him. And Abner said to Ahaziel, Turn you aside from following me. Wherefore should I smite you to the ground? How then should I hold up my face to Joab, your brother? Howbeit he refused to turn aside, wherefore Abner, with the hinder end of the spear, smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Ahaziel fell down and died stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Ammah, that lied before Giah by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of a hill.
So this man gave a warning. And he explained, man, go follow somebody else. Because if I kill you, it's going to cause a bigger schism. Stop following after me. I'm a captain. You're a foot soldier. You're not up to my level. But sometimes we run in to get what? Make a name. The man warned him. The man explained that this is going to cause other problems when I take your life. But at the same token, I'm not going to sit here and let you take my life either. But this is going to cause a problem. Go ahead.
Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest you not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere you bid the people return from following your brother, their brethren? And Joab said, As Elohim lives, unless you had spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up, every one from following his brother.
So in this whole situation we got, and the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together against Abner. So he's got a whole tribe that's against him because he decided to save his life because this boy wouldn't listen. So he got a whole schism just because somebody's self-will to pursue a killer after this man has warned him. Now we got a problem between two houses where there was already a problem, but now we got a bigger problem where somebody's trying to get back. But let's go ahead and continue this situation. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 3, and we're going to go to verses 26.
And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well to Sarah. But David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the fifth rib, that he died for the blood of Ahaziel his brother.
So in the moment of peace, when David's bringing everybody back together, Joab has still got his get back in his mind, in his heart. It's a time for peace and bringing the whole nation of Israel together. But the self-will that got his brother killed, he can't understand. Now his own self-will is to get some get back to the point that he's going to kill this man the same way his brother died. He was slain in the fifth rib and I'm going to do him the same way. Once again, not thinking about the nation. The nation is now coming together. But all you can think about is what you're desiring. Not the big picture of the unity and unification that David has just put in place for the nation of Israel. Go ahead.
And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before Yahweh forever from the blood of Abner, the son of Ner.
And we see how he moved. In the end of verse 26, it says, and David knew it not. So the same with Simeon and Levi. This was Joab's secret. I'm not talking to nobody about this. I'm not getting any counsel on this, because there's always somebody you can go to and talk to about what you're going through, and they can calm that spirit. Go ahead.
Verse 29. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Joab one that has an issue, or that is a leper, or that leans on a staff, or that falls on a sword, or that lacks bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brothers, slew Abner because he had slain their brother Ahaziel at Gibeon in the battle.
Now, David just basically cursed the house of Joab. All because of Joab's self-will to get some get back. Not considering the nation Israel, not considering his own family. Now a curse has been placed on his whole lineage by the king. But yet we don't consider one man's actions can hurt the whole nation. As we sit in a room, let's consider something. Most of us that are grown, been seeing the same, let's say, doctor for years, right? Think about when that doctor passes away. As you're thinking about it, do you see how it's going to affect your life? Do you see the change that's going to have to be made because you've gotten comfortable with this person? Now you're going to have to figure out who's going to be the next person. You're going to have to actually start searching for someone else. That simple little change you never think would really have an effect on your life, would you? But now as we bring it up, do you see the change? Now you're going to have to get used to someone else who does not know you and you don't know them. Just that simple little ripple makes a great change in your life. Let's go to Matthew chapter 3. Matthew chapter 3, and we're going to start at verse 13.
Matthew chapter 3, verse 13. Then comes Yahshua from Galilee to Jordan unto Yohanan to be baptized of him. But Yohanan forbade him, saying, I have need to be baptized of you, and you comest you to me? And Yahshua answering, saying unto him, Suffer it to be so now, for thus it becomes us to fulfill all righteousness.
So imagine if Yahshua got into his ego when Yohanan said that, yeah, I'm the man. You know what, let's not even do this. You're right. What chance would we have? Where would we stand? He could have got into self-will after his ego is being stroked right here. You the man. What you coming to me for? I need to be coming to you. You the man. What if he let that go to his head and forget the purpose and the job that he had before him? What chance would we have? What ripple effect would that have caused? We read where he went to Yahweh 3 times and prayed about taking this cup away from him. Yahweh gave him no answer. This is the way. This is the only way for any of us to have an opportunity to be put back in the right place through him. But he didn't forget the job. He knows that he has a part to play. And play this part he did. We all have a part to play. And play that part we must. We've often talked about him knowing that Yehudas was going to betray him. Suppose when the question was asked, is it I? He said, yeah, man, it's you. And Yehudas went out, repented, and changed his ways. What would that have done for the well-oiled machine? How much longer would it have taken to find a replacement for Yehudas? How much things would that have thrown off course? Go ahead.
Then he suffered him. And Yahshua, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water. And lo, the heavens were opened unto him. And he saw the Spirit of Elohim descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
And why was he well pleased? Because he followed through with what he had to do. This is commanded of you. This is what you will do. Not what you should do. This is what you will do. This is what you must do. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to start at verse 36.
Then comes Yahshua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and says unto the disciples, sit you here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Cephas and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then said he unto them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry you here and watch with me. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And he comes unto the disciples and find them asleep, and says unto Cephas, what, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were very heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then come he to the disciples and said unto them, sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to Yahshua and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Yahshua said unto him, Friend, wherefore art you come? Then came they and laid hands on Yahshua and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Yahshua stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. And said Yahshua unto him, Put up again your sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Think you that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be? In that same hour said Yahshua to the multitudes, Are you come out against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you laid no hold on me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled.
So, verse 53, he says, Think you that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? That would have been his self-will. But like he keeps saying, not my will, but your will be done. He's letting you know, you don't think I could pray to my Father right now? And I have angels on hand to take care of the business? But I'm going to go ahead and hold my peace. Because what? All this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. If I do this thing, it puts a ripple in the process. It changes what has already been set, what's in motion, and the way it should go. So Yahshua could have interjected with his own self-will, but he understands what is at hand. As we read this book, we keep reading and understanding that Israel is to be a nation of priests. Do we continue with our self-will, not understanding what's to come, or do we start walking in what we know we're supposed to be about? As that old saying, a practice makes perfect. But can we see ourselves as a guiding light to the world, to other nations of people? That's what we have to start looking at. 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 and 10 states, the Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations. But do we trust that he can remove us from temptation? Do we first and foremost call on him when we know those temptations are before us? All right, I got to go in this place, and not that I want to go, I have to go. Work, whatever, I have to go in this place, but there's some things in this place that is a weakness onto me. Okay, he may not remove the place, but he can make you blind to the things that are a temptation onto you. But first of all, like he always stated, do you believe I can do this? You first have to believe that he can help you in those times of temptations, in those situations of temptations. But you've got to first be honest with yourself. We all have to be honest with ourselves. We all know what our temptations are. And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They're not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Can we put up the last slide for me, please? We see those moving parts? We can't see ourselves as cogs in a machine. Each and every individual of the nation of Israel plays a great part in uplifting the nation, in uplifting the name of Yahweh and spreading his righteous culture. Because even the very cog, as insignificant as some may think it to be, if it does not do its part, can bring the whole operation to a screeching halt. At which time a decision has to be made to either fix it or replace it. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Shalom.
Shalom.